All right, guys, we're going to go through our section 3.2 guided reading. You should have gotten these finished yesterday. If you needed to, you can work on them some more today, but I just want to go through the answers so you can check to make sure you have the correct notes filled in. So our first question is, the cell membrane is blank, which means that some substances can pass through it while others cannot. This should be selectively permeable. Okay, so that's selective. It decides what can go through, what cannot. It helps prevent harmful materials, or if something's like really, really big, it won't be able to get through. Then question 2, list 3 ways that substances can move into and out of a cell. The 3 ways that our textbook talks about is diffusion, osmosis, and active transport. Question 3, in diffusion, molecules move from an area of blank concentration to an area of blank concentration. This should be an area of high, you could say high or higher concentration to an area of low or lower concentration. Question 4, you're looking at the diagram, and you can also look at the diagram on page 82 in the book, but you're looking at before diffusion, how these molecules are situated around the cell and inside the cell a little bit, and then as diffusion happens, what would happen to those molecules. So the answer we're looking for, I just said that after diffusion, the concentration of molecules is the same inside and outside of the cell. So they balance out, and as things are diffused, those molecules again are moving from that higher concentration to the lower concentration to have that balance so that everything is kind of even and spread out throughout the cell and even inside of the cell. Question 5, in blank, water molecules diffuse through a selectively permeable membrane. This example is osmosis. Then when we move on to our active transport section, 2 ways of moving things into and out of cells that do not need energy are called diffusion and osmosis. You're just kind of passing materials or those molecules throughout. The cell's not doing anything or using any energy. So then that process where moving materials through a cell membrane without using energy is called passive transport. So your next question is, how does active transport differ from passive transport? Essentially, active transport, or I'm just going to say AT, requires the cell to use energy to move materials in and out of the cell, whereas passive transport, or PT, does not require energy, and the materials move in and out, we'll say freely. So they can kind of go with diffusion. Again, it's that high to low concentration, and osmosis deals with water moving in and out of that cell membrane. If we go down to 9, list 2 ways that the cell moves things by active transport. We have transport proteins. So they have the specific task of taking that material, moving it to another location, and then going back to the cell membrane and doing it all over again. or they also help larger materials pass in and out of the cell membrane. And then the other way is called engulfing. So this is where that cell is going to kind of wrap itself around the material and absorb it. Then our last question is a true or false statement. As a cell gets bigger, it takes longer for a molecule that has entered the cell to reach the middle of the cell. And this is going to be true. So that's why cells are very, very small and microscopic, and we can't see them because all the materials and proteins and everything else that need to pass through them, if it was really large, it would take a longer time to get from the outside of the cell to the inside of the cell. Whereas if it's small, it's going to be a really quick time. Okay? So please make sure you double check your guided reading. If you need to fix any of your answers, do that, and then you can always resubmit it, or just make sure you make answer corrections. But then you're good to go. Have a good day, guys.